Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Best Paper Watch. Today, as you can see, I'm on the most southern part of the coastal part of the south coast of England. And during Best Paper season, this is an opportunity to find some of the rarer finds of our traditional conference period. Now today, of course, we're at the ocean, the majestic domain of Poseidon, god of the ocean, and if we're very lucky and we sort of search around these kind of rocky areas, we may actually be able to find a little something special. Yes, that's right, it's a copy of There Is No Escape, Theatricality in Hades by Nick Junius, Max Straminsky and Michael Mateus. Now in this paper, they look at the concept of theatricality in games. Now, when we normally talk about theatricality in games, we talk about games as a performance, something that you're performing for someone, you do it once and then it's done. But in this paper, they look at Hades, a recently released roguelike in which the player plays and dies many times over the course of the game. And they instead think of it in terms of the production of a play, where during the early parts of the game, you're kind of rehearsing, you're learning the ropes. And later on, as you perform the play more and rehearse with the cast of other non-player characters, the story develops in the same way that the actors and cast, their understanding would develop through the production of a play too.
And this is a pretty interesting take on narrative-driven roguelikes that rely on cycles and repetition to tell their story.
So a fascinating paper looking into one of the best-loved games in recent years, and of course a roguelike, so very close to my heart as well. An excellent find down here by the beach. So from the sea to the land, we've now come to the top of this very, very tall hill here. Hopefully you can see the ocean behind me. And we're here to look for a very different type of best paper. Now, at this time of year, the best papers sort of tend to flock and migrate from many, many countries. But as they fly across, we do get a chance to glimpse flocks of them in the sky, sort of herding their way to the conference location itself. And if we're lucky, there's one paper in particular that I'm hoping to spot while I'm up here. Yep, now I think if you look just up there, if I'm not wrong, let me just check my Best Paper Watcher's guide. Yes, that's Improving the Discoverability of Indie Games by Leveraging Their Similarity to Top-Selling Games by Quang Vu and Corporal Besame. Now, this paper solves a problem that's very dear to my heart. If you're like me, you're a fan of indie game stores like itch.io, where there are hundreds of thousands of small games made by independent developers. But the problem is that it's hard to discover games that you like on these stores because the developers don't have enough money and influence to sort of advertise broadly. And also it's just sort of hard to explore a store with hundreds of thousands of games on. So what the authors do here is they build a system that can connect games that we don't know, indie games on itch.io for instance, that we might like to try, and relate them to games that we do know by looking at popular games on services like Steam and connecting them using analysis of things like their tags, their descriptions and keywords. And not only does the paper present a system that does this and describe it, but they evaluate the system by talking to indie developers to get their perspective on it, and then even go as far as sort of evaluating their approach to the entire research project. So it's a really complete paper that solves a very important and pressing problem. And much like the views up here, it gives us a great perspective on the huge industry that we're a part of. Metaphor nailed. Well, thank you very much for watching. That's all we've got time for in today's episode of Best Paper Watch. I will, of course, be back tomorrow in tomorrow's episode of FDG TV. In the meantime, don't forget to go to FDG's website to find the schedule so you can see where to catch the talks associated with these best papers that we talked about today. Thanks for hanging out with me by the sea, in the sun, and I'll see you tomorrow.